Before we jump into today's very lucrative video, I'd like to invite you BMX boys that grew up riding BMX and jumping ramps to join every other Sunday the Dirty Knobs podcast with James Vicente, Eric Carter, and Hollywood Mike Miranda put out a new episode. And I like to listen because it pieces the things from my past together that I was too young to figure out at the time. Like, who is PK Ripper? The link to these questions and more is below in the description of this video. Let's kick it. Something very interesting has happened that has affected the value of a 2025 penny. And I believe that the 2025 D Denver is worth a little bit more, but nonetheless, the value seems to be so crazy that it doesn't really matter which one you end up with. Because the President of the United States and probably Canada and Greenland has said we're not making pennies anymore because it costs 2 cents to make a penny, the value of a 2025 penny has become astronomical. And I'll explain why. Now, what we're going to learn today is how you can walk away with a full, unopened box of 2025 pennies for just $25 when they are selling for $725. Now, what you're looking at on the screen is sold items on eBay. Not what people are asking, but what is actually sold on eBay, which means that people are willing to pay $725 for a $25 box of pennies that you can go to the bank and ask for. You simply walk into your bank with $25 and say, I'd like to buy a box of pennies, but I'd like a new box of pennies. So if the teller's not a jerk, they'll hopefully go back and lift through a couple boxes and try and get you ones that have shiny sheen pennies. You could actually look through the holes in the box of pennies and see, are these shiny sheen pennies? If you see any dark rolls in there, you know that they're recycled. Definitely not 2025. But the key here is to go to a bank, go to many banks. Say, can I get a box of pennies? And by the way, could you please get me a new box of pennies? You could say you're a coin collector. You could say you're going through them with your kids looking for rarities or whatever. The bank people probably haven't figured it out yet. And what I would do, this is just the way I think. Like, if I got something I want to sell, I don't have an attachment to it. And if it's worth $100, I'll post it for $75. So if people are paying $725 for a $25 box of pennies, why don't you list it for $525? You're up $500. How do you not do that? So with very little money. Oh, by the way, people are selling them. You could see here that they're just selling 1 or 2 pennies at a time. People are selling rolls of pennies. I believe the rolls of pennies are going for $24.99 sold. $25 for a 50-cent roll of pennies because Donald Trump no longer makes pennies. He said, we're not doing it anymore. So what we're going to have here is the lowest mintage probably in U.S. history of pennies, which makes those pennies worth more. Now, remember, there is no copper in a penny anymore. It's only copper-coated. So you're not actually getting copper here. You're not even selling copper here. It's not even a metal that has any value that's in these pennies. If you haven't noticed that these pennies do rot. So if you're going to sit on a roll or a case of these pennies, you want to keep it in a dry area that has minimal amounts of temperature change, like a bedroom closet would be good. Now, for those of you who may not know, P stands for Philadelphia, and that's the location of one of the mints where they make coins. And the other one is D for Denver, and they make less pennies or less coins there. So Denver usually has a lower overall mintage, which means you'll find the letter D on that penny on less pennies than you will find a P. You may get a box, most likely get a box that's all P or all D. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter. The value is so crazy. Who cares, right? Now, as a silver stacker, aka a hoarder, I think of the people who purchase these boxes of pennies for 725 bucks as absolute clowns. But there is a huge push and pull, love-hate relationship between silver stackers and coin collectors. And there are some people who are a little bit of both. I myself am purely a silver stacker, and I only stack minted U.S. coins that were made 1964 and earlier. Average coins. There's nothing rare about a 1925 U.S. quarter. There's nothing rare, unless it is in super mint condition, has never been circulated, never been in the pocket of a human being. That thing is only worth its silver value. So I generally try to get 1964 coins, like somewhere between 1955 and 1964, because they've been circulated less, which means less silver has been rubbed off those coins. Sometimes you look at a coin and you could see that it's the image of President Washington is fading away. That's because it's been in millions and millions of people's pockets and has been rubbing up against other coins for its entire life. So I try to get the newer coins that weigh more. So the newest being 1964, because that was the last year that they minted dimes, quarters, and half dollars in silver. So please go take advantage of these coin dummies. Stop by a couple of banks and ask nicely, and see if you can't walk away with a case of Denver or Philadelphia 2025 pennies. Side note, if you ever find a coin that has an S on it, S is for San Francisco, and it's also means it's special, because San Francisco generally only mints memorial type coins, special coins, like remember the 1776 quarter. Some of those have an S, and most of those S coins are silver. Not all of them, but you could look on the side of the coin, and if it doesn't have that copper ring around the side and it's just a white ring, you got yourself a silver quarter. Feel free to go take advantage of these dummies, maybe pay off a mortgage payment with a couple of boxes. Oh, God, and these people are freaking, oh, my God, honey, we're not paying the mortgage this month. We're going to go try and buy a couple boxes of pennies for $725. And the reality of it is that $725 box of pennies is never going to be worth $800. It's never going to be worth that. And the number of people who give a crap are dying every day. And there are not any new ones really coming into the hobby. So take advantage of the coin dummies. Go get your box. Go get yourself a $700 box of pennies for 25 bucks. You know, I actually have several rolls of 2009 and 2010. 2010 was the first year they put the shield on the back. 2009 was the last year we had the traditional penny. And up until this year, 2010 was the lowest minted coin in the history of pennies, even dating back 100 years. So I did keep a couple of those so I could flip to the coin dummies later in life. Gibby's laughing right now because Gibby's a stacker more than he is a coin collector. But anyway, peace and love worldwide. Live your life before your life lives you. Keep on smiling, and God bless America.